Hello and welcome to this episode of Inspire Africa. Coming up, the story of the Ballet school in Accra, Ghana, making waves among children. The Congolese man in Australia growing African herbs and vegetables to the delight of many. And how one man's water business in South Africa is making social impact where many are affected by the lack of access to safe drinking water. More on all of this in a moment. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for watching, sharing, and being a part of the program. We begin in Accra, Ghana, where a school is introducing ballet to pupils and sowing in them huge dreams of winning international ballet dance competitions. Let's take a look.
A ballet school in Ghana's capital, Accra, is on a mission to create awareness about the famous global performance dance in Africa. Born during the Italian Renaissance in the 15th century and later developing into a concert dance form in France and Russia, ballet has since become a widespread art, fusing into many other styles of dance within diverse cultures.
Ballet helps us in discipline, it keeps the posture right, and there's a lot of dance techniques that you can actually blend with ballet. I also think that this also works with our culture, the Ghanaian culture. We need to look at other forms of art. Cocoa was brought from somewhere else into Ghana, so it's not what we bring, it's about what we do with what we introduce.
I've always wanted my kids to do something extracurricular. So when they expressed a desire to do ballet, I said, well, that's okay, something new. It's okay to try it.
I'm here because I love ballet and I want to dance and become a ballerina.
The historically Eurocentric image of a ballerina is not an issue for these aspiring dancers.
It doesn't matter if you are fat, you are chubby, you are slim. Anybody can dance ballet.
But is Africa really ready to make ballet its own?
If we have students who can do it in Africa, it will be like a competition going between Africa and America.
Blending it with African culture and storytelling, Ballet Ghana seeks to indigenize the global dance form in true cultural innovation. And the possibilities of artistic heights amongst Africa's children are limitless.
Now, food ranks top of the major concerns of people who migrate from one place to another. For some Africans in Australia, this was a top concern until one Congolese man decided to do something about it.
A Congolese refugee in Australia has found a way to keep his home comforts by growing African herbs and vegetables, which he sells at his market garden. Buwek Chishilengi decided to grow his own crops after he and his family couldn't stomach Australian food.
When we first arrived, it was very hard for us to have like the Australian food. So when we eat it, we get sick or have trouble in the stomach.
Buwek arrived in Australia from the DRC 10 years ago and later started planting his own African crops, which he tends to every day, and now also sells in grocery stores to the delight of many customers.
When I met Papa Buwek and he introduced me to his fresh produce, I was really excited because I've always imported food that is frozen or food that is in a tin.
The unique farm is well known in the African community of Sydney and offers 15 varieties of organic African herbs and vegetables.
Remind us back like we are back in Africa, even though we are in Australia.
We are really happy and appreciate what he's doing.
Buwek says he enjoys sharing the flavours of home with those in Australia, but says there is one challenge: Australia's climate, which can sometimes mean no rain during the winter and destroy all the crops.
And now we head to South Africa to meet with Murendeni Mafumo. Murendeni's project, Kusini Water, makes water purification and distribution systems from locally sourced materials and uses renewable energy to supply clean water to low-income communities. Murendeni, good to have you with us.
Hi, Jerry. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to the program. So first off, like I often ask, what prompted you into this? How did you come into the water business?
So I spent the last 10 years or so working within the water and sanitation space. Previously, I used to work for the city of Cape Town as a water scientist, as well as I worked also for Johannesburg Water. So it was about maybe 12 years ago or so when at my university, my first research project, we were using sunflower seeds to purify industrial wastewater. So that was my first ever project that I worked on in my postgraduate research. So that's how I found myself within the water business.
As a solar-powered mobile water purification project, how effective is the purification process here?
What happens in our system is that we get water, primarily speaking, we get water from groundwater sources. That water goes through the first stage treatment, which is the carbon filtration that removes any chemicals, any bad odor, smell in water. Second stage removes any viruses, bacteria that could be in the water. We use the South African National Standard of water treatment. So the South African National Water Standard is derived and complies with the EPA International Standard for the safety of safe drinking water, which is 99.999% removal of any bacteria or viruses from water. And then we distribute that using a solar-powered pump that is able to distribute to a small-sized community.
So you started working in Cape Town, where 2 years ago, Cape Town became the first major city in the world to run out of drinkable water as it dealt with this water scarcity at the time. What's the situation now?
So the situation in Cape Town right now is actually quite good this year. Over the last couple of months, the city has received sufficient rains. The dams are at a very good level. So South Africa is one of the lowest average rainfalls per annum globally. But with climate change comes a new challenge, arises new challenges for cities to face, and especially in the African continent, where rain can sometimes be too much. And in the case of Cape Town, where rain was just not enough for a couple of years, 2-3 years. So what needs to happen is that these cities need to look a lot into how do we make a great mix of water. This water nexus, just like with energy nexus, we need to get to a point where these water processes and water collection distribution strategies need to be decentralized. South Africa faces another unique challenge in that South Africa is one of the very few countries in the world that faces both physical access barrier to water as well as economic barrier to water. And that's part of the mission that we're working on within our company.
How would you describe the level of impact that you are making in these communities that you work in? And what does it do for you to see your work there?
For me, there's a community within Heidelberg. This community is a farming community. The biggest challenge with these farming communities is that they're very remote. So oftentimes municipalities are unable to get water resources or water services, piped water services to those communities. So I would like for you to imagine a village. There are a lot of these villages in Rwanda where one neighbor is on the other side and there's a stream that runs and divides this and cuts through these villages. And within all those villages, everyone is growing their crop from that water that runs through those villages. Cows graze in those crops, people eat from that, and a lot of the times kids were drinking water with high elevated levels of E. coli and other pathogens. So our biggest impact in that community, which has a couple thousand people, was that we went in there, put in a solar-powered water purification system that collects that water, treats it to the drinkable standard, EPA standard, and then we distribute it as local as possible.
And finally, I see that you've got over 10 years of experience in the water and sanitation sector. What's the next thing for you? What would you like to see happen in this sector?
One of the things that we want to be able to see is that no one should be walking more than 1 kilometer to get clean water. Actually, no one should be walking to go get clean water. Everyone within the African continent should be able to wake up, open their tap and get water running. Part of what we want to be able to design are communities that are self-sustaining, where the water comes from that community. It's well taken care of. We've got stewards and marshals that take care of that water, and that water gets used as close as possible to that community. It gets treated, taken care of, reused, and applied as well as possible within that water. So that's what we'd like to see over the next 5-10 years. We want to be able to get to 5 million people with our treatment system.
Murendeni, I'd like to thank you for your time and sharing insights about your work with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity. Thanks, man.
And we've come to the end of this episode of Inspire Africa. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Do not forget to follow us on our social media pages and share your thoughts with us. I am Jerry Fisaya Bambi, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
A woman in Freetown, Sierra Leone, with a near-perfect alignment of baskets on her head. Single or taken? Self-love is the greatest love of all time, as seen on Adokay Africa. And at Style Bendy, one of Morocco's top fashion influencers.